He's saying that streamers like Apple and Amazon are turning writers' rooms into ruthlessly efficient content factories. And he says, I can't function like that. Well, Jon, what he's given us here is a nice little tidbit of something that we can actually talk about, because one of our big problems is that we really hate the way a lot of these TV shows are being created. We're getting limited number of episodes. They're not really giving a shit about like what the fans care about, right? They've got, and one of the reasons this is, and Stewart goes in to talk about it, is that a lot of these streaming services, they're trying to get these very small writers' rooms. They want to like really peel them down. They feel like they're paying out too much money to writers. Listen, why do we need a writer's room with 10 people in it when like 2 guys or a guy and a monkey can like do it?
Yeah.
And so, but what's the problem with that?
A guy and his artificial intelligence chat GPT robot.
Right. What one guy, how about we just get a computer with AI? I mean, we know where the studios want to go because they're saving money.
Just get an intern to write it with chat GPT.
But what happens is you end up with garbage.
Right.
But because we know that the streaming services don't really care if their content is good, all they care is that they get you to keep subscribing. Right. It's really changing the entire environment of how we watch entertainment.
Yeah.
And so
this is the problem with the streaming model is in order to compete, you have to have content. And they don't care about having good content. They just need content that they can market. The marketing department needs more fodder to push into its machine to get the masses to eat their slop. And let me give you an example of this. HBO used to be at the top of its game, as in, AKA, this shining star of top tier, grade A, S tier content. They created Game of Thrones, The Wire, True Blood, which some people didn't like, but it was top tier.
Yeah. The Sopranos.
Barry. Thank you, Barry. Yeah. Top tier, grade A beef, right? The kind of meal that is worth the price tag. You know what? There are people that wouldn't cancel their cable because they didn't want to lose access to HBO. They would pay the $150 price tag for the rest of their crappy cable just to keep their $20 a month HBO. Man, HBO carried premium cable on its back for decades, right?
Yes.
And then HBO goes, we're going to make HBO Go. And if you already have an HBO account, you can access our content on your computer or streaming devices. And then someone's like, look, I don't have cable. I'm a cord cutter. What do you have for me? And they're like, you know what? Don't worry. We got HBO Max for you. And people signed up. And so many people signed up to that HBO figured out that they didn't really need the TV station anymore. That they can take that model into the new age. And then they merged with Discovery. And this is the one thing I don't like about David Zaslav. David Zaslav was like, look, we're all competing to be Netflix. And we have the HBO brand here. Let's remove it.
Let's just get rid of it.
Let's get rid of the HBO Max and just call it Max.
Cinemax? Is it Cinemax? What are we
We'll just call it Max. And when that happened, all of that grade A top tier content became something that was no longer the focus.
Right.
The focus became getting content onto the platform. And the streaming service, the streaming age, is so bad for content. We end up with shows that are overinflated in budget. $200 million an episode. We only get 8 episodes because there's no reason to make 10, 12, 15, 24. They would rather have 5 seasons with 8 episodes a season than 2 seasons at 22 episodes.
Right, because they can keep, as long as they can keep you there longer. That's all that matters.
Because they want to keep you there longer.
Subscribing, right.
They don't want you to be able to binge watch all 22 episodes and then be like, all right, I'm done with this. So this is the new norm. And the new norm is stupid. But the problem, the reason is, before TV seasons were longer because they wanted ad revenue. The longer a season went, the more ads they can sell. And now it's not about how long the season is and how much content you get. It's about how long they keep you there on that service.
Yep.
And they know people waterfall, which means you cancel, then you come back when something's interesting, right? And so they need those extra seasons. And there's no reason to go past. And here's the problem with this. Old network television, old cable TV meets new TV. You have agents that are still working with the old model saying, hey, listen, you want my actor to come in for a season 3, you got to pay him more. And the new streaming service is like, yeah, that's not how it works. Like, we're only doing 8 episodes here, so we're not going to pay him more. And they're like, well, I don't know. And so now you have entire TV shows that are like 3 seasons and we're done. 8 episodes, 3 seasons. You get invested in a TV show, good luck. You're going to get 16 episodes, which, by the way, wasn't even a full season of TV, not even 13 years ago.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
So let me tell you where it's going. It's going to 3 episode seasons, okay? 1 in January, 1 episode in January, 1 episode in February, 1 episode in March, right? Where you keep them subscribed for 3 months, okay? And that's it. So you didn't spend very much money. You got to create a season of content. They're going to move. I'm telling you right now, you're going to start having these like event TV shows where they're going to be like, it's going to be like a mini
series
/ mini movie, like a mini series where they're going to keep them there and they're going to spend almost no money, right? And they're going to keep washing and repeating this. Now, eventually it's not going to work. People want more content than that, but this is what they're going for. This is why they're changing it. As Jon Stewart says in here, they're taking writers' rooms of 14, cutting it down to 4 and telling them, oh, by the way, you don't need to meet in person. It's got to be on Zoom. You don't need a room. You don't need a room. I mean, this is where, Brian, what is the best way to create something with synergy with a group of people all working together, right? That is the best way to create
obviously over Facebook Messenger.
With your handy duty AI next to you.
Right. No one wants to be in the same room because then they have to disclose the fact that they're all using ChatGPT.
I hope that's not the case. So basically, let's finish up with what Stewart said here. These companies don't believe in institutional knowledge that allows people to grow and get better and create more. What they believe now is the auteur system, which has always existed within film and TV, and then this idea of ruthlessly efficient content factories where what matters is the real estate and not the individual creative. Well, John, welcome. We've been saying this for the last several years, but I'm glad you finally caught up to it.
Yeah, and the writing room thing is, they don't respect writers anymore unless they already have a name for themselves. Like, most people believe, most of these studio execs just assume they can find anyone to do that gig. And to be fair, you got to blame writers a little bit for that, because, like, what have we gotten the last 10 years? Like, the vast majority of it has been just slop.
Right, but what are they writing?
Even without AI, like, they don't even use AI and it's still bad.
But they're writing what they think the studio wants them to write.
I don't know if that's
writing
true.
What they want to write. I think it's 100% true.
I don't think I mean, do you think the studio is telling them to write these like hyper inclusive, super LGBT TV shows?
Yeah, I think what happened is
so it's just coincidental that the chick with purple hair, that's also they them.
It's not coincidental.
Is the writer?
It's intentional. It's intentional.
So
but
the studio wants that, so they hire those
circle.
People.
It puts it in a circle. They want the DEI, the clout. They want the right. So they end up hiring these people who then hire more. It ends up in a circle. So they end up writing this. Well, this is what they hire. They know that I'm a outspoken, LGBTQ person, and this is why I got hired. So this is what I need to write. And the showrunner is, the same thing. They're all in this like bubble and they're writing the same stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever see that article where someone cross-checked the old Tumblr archives with writers on the new SVU?
No.
And 50% of the writers for SVU were all at one point writing SVU fan fiction on Tumblr.
Really?
That's
hilarious.
That's insane to me.
It doesn't get that
doesn't get more internet than that.
Right.
Man.
That is so crazy. And so remember, you got to remember from the writing strike that we had going on, one of the key elements was, and the reason, and they wouldn't end the strike until this was dealt with, is there was this rise in what was called mini rooms. So it's basically staffed with just a couple of writers working on a show instead of having a full writing room. So one of the things that they had to have put into that was that there was a limit to the writing rooms. So they're fighting to keep their writers together. I would argue that, at some point the studios are going to realize that the streaming platform, the streaming service as it currently is, doesn't work. Like, there's no way that maybe Netflix can keep doing what it's doing because it's got that shit figured out. But all these other smaller platforms, they're not going to make it. Okay. They're not making enough money. They're not going to make it. They're going to have to band back together. They're going to have to say, well, shit, we got to actually create good content to get people to come here. And we're going to have to partner up with 2 or 3 other streamers in order to not have to pay for all of this content. And once it'll become like cable TV. Right.
It'll just be
where
digital
we're getting
cable
the best
TV.
shows.
It'll just be cable TV that's digital. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's the crazy part. And I can tell you this, like, here's one way to keep people on your little streaming service. Stop selling your show the second the season's over to other streaming services. Like, oh,
there's not enough content, Brian.
You have a good show. We really liked it, and so did the fans. And then you sell it to your competitors, and all of a sudden now it's like you're watching Star Trek Picard season 3 on a Hulu or whatever. You're like, what is happening right now?
Because it's so valuable, they need the money to keep their streaming services working. I'm telling you, they're gonna, and it's gonna happen. It's coming. Max is gonna end up combining with Paramount Plus. Well, it's coming. It's coming. They're gonna end up teaming together, and you're gonna have multiple services till at some point we're gonna be all back together watching it from one platform.